Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is on a topic that I would usually avoid, but today I want to dive in and share my thoughts on cracked clients. I have spoken to both the people behind popular paid-for clients and to the people cracking these clients to get a more balanced perspective. Before we get into the video, I'd like to shout out the legends that are my YouTube members. Videos like this take a lot of research, writing and editing. These legends quite literally make these videos possible by supporting my work. So thanks guys. Before we get into my thoughts on cracked clients, let's first take a look at how clients secure their code from attackers. As I am sure most of you know by now, paid-for clients come with protections in place to prevent the sharing of the software without a proper license. As a simple example, if you buy a client like Future, you can't simply share the .jar file with a friend because the software won't operate on their system without a valid license. With this in mind, when an attacker removes the security checks making the client usable on any computer without a license, we call this version of the client cracked. The security protections put in place by clients are known as Digital Right Management, or DRM for short. One of the layers of DRM that all paid-for clients use that you may be familiar with is a hardware ID lock, also known as HWID locking. This system isn't perfect. Depending on how the hardware IDs are generated, adding or removing a hard drive can cause a mismatch, forcing you to request an HWID reset. Another layer of DRM that all paid-for clients use is code obfuscation. This is quite a complicated topic. Here is a somewhat simplified explanation. Minecraft mods and hacked clients are coded in Java, and this creates a problem for the client devs. Anyone with a jar file and some basic knowledge can extract the jar file and view the code contents within it. This is a big problem for paid-for clients. If anyone can view the client's code, people can steal features and even remove the need for a license by modifying the client's code. So to stop this, client devs obfuscate their code. To better explain what code obfuscation is, imagine having a puzzle where each piece fits perfectly together to form a clear picture. This is like the original code of your software, with a logical flow and syntax that anyone familiar with programming can understand. Now imagine if someone took that puzzle, changed the location of all of the pieces and painted over them with an abstract pattern. Yet somehow, when assembled correctly, the original picture is still visible. This is what code obfuscation does. It makes straightforward code, such as a function checking for a user's license, and transforms it into something random. Obfuscation is even more complex. It does not only rename things, it alters the flow and the structure of the code in a way that while the code still achieves the same function, understanding how it gets there becomes a very difficult task. Commands and checks that were once clear, like if license key is valid, allow access, are now hidden behind a veil of confusion. The process of obfuscation does not stop people from looking through the client's code. It is still possible to work out what the code does and to alter it. Obfuscation just makes the code that is visible super confusing and hard to read or follow, and the process of unobfuscating code is extremely painful and time-consuming. These are just two examples of DRM measures found in pretty much all paid clients. Most clients will include other layers of DRM, but we do not need to discuss them all in this video. This is also somewhat of a sensitive topic. Client devs don't want to share what protections and checks they have in place, as this information may help the people trying to crack their clients, while the client crackers don't want to share how they are cracking the clients, as this may help the client devs in further securing their clients. Now we need to discuss one last DRM measure to fully understand how complicated the process of securing a client is. When you download a client, you are actually in most cases just downloading an installer and an authenticator. Most popular clients like Future and RussiaHack are never actually stored on your computer. This would make getting the obfuscated code too easy for an attacker. Instead, when you launch your game, the client's obfuscated code is downloaded from the client server and run in your RAM. This code is never actually stored on a physical disk. This means two important things. One, most popular clients that use this defense do not work offline, as they need an internet connection to download the code for the client to function. And two, it means that the only way for an attacker to get the client's code is to dump the RAM. Dumping the RAM is the process of taking what is stored in the RAM and saving it to a file. This might sound like a simple thing to do, but in reality only parts of the client are loaded, and parts that are not actively being used are unloaded and removed. So if the attacker dumps the client at the wrong time, they may end up with a dump that contains no helpful information. And then on top of all of this, most of the clients have checks and defense mechanisms in place to stop an attacker from dumping the RAM. If the clients detect that the RAM has been dumped, they ban the account. This makes it even harder for the attacker. There is a chance that they get banned for dumping the RAM, but this dump might not even contain the information they are looking for. Though I was told by the client crackers that they have found some ways around this and that they can sometimes dump the RAM without getting banned. This is a bit of a simplification of what actually happens, but for the context of this video, we do not need to fully understand every detail, but rather I hope this has given you a simple idea of how it all works and how complicated it all is. In fact, I'd like to take a moment to fully appreciate how much effort is put into stopping client crackers. Not only are clients obfuscated, they are also encrypted when they are downloaded, and they are only decrypted when they are run in RAM. The clients are never actually stored on the user's computer, and only the parts of the client that are actively being used or loaded. The complexity of this subject is amazing to me. But anyways, that is enough explaining. Let's get on to my thoughts on cracked clients and why I do not make videos on or promote the cracked versions of clients. The most obvious reason to not use a cracked client, or any cracked software for that matter, put simply, is it is probably against the law. Laws are complicated, especially on a global scale, but in most countries, using cracked software is considered copyright infringement. Another reason to be wary of cracked software is malware. Earlier, when we spoke about how clients are cracked, we spoke about obfuscated code. Well, when an attacker cracks a client, they don't bother de-obfuscating the code, rather they focus on removing the authentication checks. An attacker could easily add their own obfuscated code that contains malware. This code would be incredibly hard to find or understand, as it would blend in with all of the other obfuscated code. With that said, there are groups out there that have built a reputation of releasing safe cracks, but it does not change the fact that you don't really know what you are running on your system. Another obvious drawback to using cracked software is a lack of updates. Most modern paid-for clients receive somewhat frequent updates. When you use a cracked version, you are likely using an outdated version of that client. Even if it is the most recent version, you do not get client support or new updates as they release. On top of this, if the client has any features that are dependent on the client servers to function, they will not work with a cracked version of the client. And this leads me to another point to consider: client performance. Because of how clients are cracked, they are often very buggy and game crashes are not uncommon, or at least that has been my experience with cracked clients. The last point I want to cover is one that may not be as obvious as some of the other points I have covered. I know from experience that cracked software can demotivate the developers behind the software. I want to use the Catalyst client as an example here. While the client being cracked was not the main reason for the client shutting down, it played a big role in demotivating the devs. When you put hundreds or thousands of hours of work into a project just for it to be leaked, critiqued, and maybe even stolen by other devs, it is extremely demotivating. With all of that said, I do understand why people use cracked software. I myself used a cracked version of Premiere Pro to edit all of my videos until the channel became big enough to pay for an authentic Adobe license. If you don't have money to pay for a client, or if you are in a country like Russia, for example, that is blocked by popular payment processing companies, or maybe you are just in a country like Turkey where the currency is low value in comparison to the United States dollar, a cracked version of a client may be the only realistic way to use that client. But in all honesty, even in these cases, I find it hard to recommend the cracked version of these clients. The Minecraft hacking scene is different to most other games in a few important ways. First of all, paid-for hack clients are super cheap, and secondly, there are so many amazing open source and completely free clients out there. Why use a cracked client if it's buggy, against the law, and may contain malware, when you can use an open source client that does pretty much the same thing but for free and with no risk? What do you guys think? I'd love to know your own thoughts on cracked clients in the comments down below. I will be reading and replying to all of the comments, so please do let me know. Now let's move on to what some of the client devs think about cracked clients and what they had to tell me. But before we do that, I want to ask you guys to subscribe. I was looking through my YouTube stats the other day and over 90% of my viewers are from non-subscribers. If you made it this far in the video and you're not subscribed, smash that. Nah, I'm just joking, you know what to do. I reached out to John, the owner of Russia Hack, and here was his response. To summarize, he agreed with the points I made and added the following.
Russia is a small company. Piracy affects us much more than larger companies. When I started Russia Hack in 2018, I was 14 years old. For nearly 1/3 of my entire life, I have poured many thousands of hours into Russia Hack. Piracy is not only demotivating, but it also stifles innovation and development. I believe Russia Hack is appropriately priced, especially when considering the quality and the excellent customer service we provide. I appreciate that people want to use Russia Hack, even if it is a non-legitimate copy. but they should understand the risks involved. When you download a pirated copy of RusherHack, you run the risk of running unwanted and potentially malicious, dangerous code that can harm you without you even knowing. For example, there is a lot of obfuscated code here that isn't present in a legitimate copy of RusherHack. Why is this code obfuscated? What does it do? I don't know. And that is scary, and in my opinion, it is not worth the risk.
Whether you are using a cracked version of RusherHack or considering paying for the client, do it the right way. Buy RusherHack with code KiLAB for John's adorable cat Scarlet. Jokes aside, John makes some valid points. When you use a cracked version of RusherHack, you are in some way, shape or form affecting a small business in a negative way, which is not cool. I also spoke to 0x22, one of the future client devs. He again agreed with my points and added some interesting points to consider. He told me that many future client users have apparently been using the client for close to or around 5 years. If you split the initial license key price over that time, they have paid around $4 per year for access to the client, which is not a lot at all for what users are getting. This just adds to the point made by John and myself that clients are not unfairly priced. I am actually surprised that they are not more expensive. 0x also went on to tell me that they have considered releasing free versions of Future in countries like Russia or Ukraine, where users are not able to pay for the client. They have also considered releasing regional pricing to offer a more fair price to people depending on their currency and its power. But sadly, 0x told me that these features or releases will likely never be released, as they can easily be abused by people even if they have the money or the ability to pay for a license. I also spoke to Mironov from a popular group of client crackers. I asked him why he spent his time cracking clients, and he told me that it started out as a fun and challenging project. Once he succeeded in cracking one client, he decided to try other Anarchy clients until he had basically cracked them all. He told me that since cracking the Future client, he has basically stopped working on cracks, at least for the time being. I also asked him about the obfuscated code that was added to the RusherHack crack that John shared. Mironov claims that this is part of the loader and that this is in place to stop the crack from working for everyone. This explanation does actually make sense, as the release was not made public and only sent to a few people. But again, because this code is obfuscated, there's no real way for us to know exactly what it is, what it does, or how it works. Even if it is innocent and non-harmful, I still personally find running this a bit scary. But then again, I run paid for clients that contain obfuscated code all of the time without questioning it. The way I see it, paid for clients have an incentive to make sales and earn revenue. Adding malware or anything bad to their clients would completely ruin their reputation and kill their business, so it is not worth the risk. This makes paid for clients feel safer to me, even if I am not entirely sure what is being run on my system. Maybe this is stupid, maybe I have double standards, but that is just one of a few things that I consider when assessing the risk of running a client. So in conclusion, I do not promote or use cracked clients because doing so violates copyright, it can put users at risk of malware, you miss out on updates and client support, the experience is usually pretty buggy and game crashes are not uncommon, and using a cracked client can negatively affect the business and development of these clients. I do understand why people use cracked clients, but personally I would rather recommend some of the many free and open source clients, as they are safer and offer many of the same features. If anything, making this video has made me appreciate clients so much more. The level of complexity client devs go through to protect their code is truly impressive. I also counterintuitively have a lot of respect for the people that crack clients. Even if I do not necessarily agree with what they are doing, the knowledge and skill required to crack a client is insane to me. And with that said, I also really appreciate that they took the time to talk with me, explaining how they crack clients. I also appreciate John and 0x22 taking the time to talk with me for this video. I really would love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys think? Do you guys use cracked clients? Anyways, if you found this video interesting, please consider leaving a like and please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. I have been your boy KiLAB. Peace in the Middle East.